secret rituals even today in the Puri temple, rituals to which others are not exposed, and then maybe we will talk about this one to know. Now I invite Dr. Shruti Amar, who will be speaking on singing archives, songs of Jagannath on the digital platform. Dr. Shruti Amar, uh, has been working in the area of South Asian literature and culture, with particular focus on Indian writing in English, gender studies, and folklore. She had a PhD from King's College London in 2018. She has organized conferences on South Asian seminar series in October, March 2017, presented a paper on the topic Body in Motion, Sensory Perception of Women Pilgrims at the famous Shravan Festival of Jharkhand at an international conference titled Pilgrimage in the Senses, organized by the History of Art Department, University of Oxford. That was in on June 7, 2019. So welcome, Dr. Amar, and we're very keen on listening to your presentation, which is on singing
Thanks.
archives, songs
Archives,
of Jagannath. So
songs
yeah,
of
thank you so much.
Jagannath on the digital platforms. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible? Uh, I hope that I'm audible. So I will be sharing my screen. So let me try a bit if it is happening. So if it is visible, then please let me know. So is it visible on my slides? Hello. So sorry for that. Just a moment. I will keep it like that. Okay. So, a very good evening to all of you, and many thanks to the organizer for giving me this organizers for giving me this opportunity. So, an evening at the Purushottam temple, famously called Jagannath Temple in Puri, is filled with ecstatic sounds of cymbals and gongs, continuously producing sounds in love of the revered deity Jagannath. The devotees, often sitting in a group, go on to produce rhythmic patterns that, when it strikes the magnificent red bricks, create a mystic feeling that only a devotee besmeared in the love of the deity can experience. The music eventually scatters around the large vicinity of the glorious temple, imparting an unknown vision of Jagannath around the temple sculpture. Such songs and music, though, are not limited to Jagannath temple, but are sung in the houses and fields all through the state of Orissa and adjoining Bengal. Such tradition of dance and music has created a long archival material that is being preserved on the digital medium. A number of popular websites are devoted to the famous deity that records and preserves these songs, particularly transmitted through oral medium. Many of these songs are women centric, and Radha as the divine consort finds prominence. In this paper, therefore, I will look at these songs in order to understand the manner in which these singing archives help in spreading the Katha of Jagannath. What are the various modes of circulation on the digital platform, and how such circulation creates a discursive space around the Jagannath Bhakti tradition? Popularized by the tenets of Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti began as a movement in the 6th and 7th century. Soon it swayed all over the subcontinent, from Kashmir in north to Maharashtra in west. One reason for the popularity of this religious tradition is its perception of God as an intimate figure with whom personal relationship could be formed through continuous chanting, performances of the Katha relating to God, and his various avatars, as well as by doing pilgrimage. However, the most important characteristics of bhakti is unbound love for God. Bhakti in itself embodies the idea of love, emphasizing on emphasizing on the centrality of love in devotion. Famous Tamil saint Tirumala says, the ignorant thinks that love and Shivam, the state of being bliss and Shiva, are different. They do not know that love becomes or settles into Shivam. Further declaring love as the central metaphor for religious experience, A.K. Ramanujan argues that in bhakti it is the love that supersedes every established rites or rituals. Love in bhakti, thus, is both an inner state and an external action. But most important here, love is about relationship and embodiment. While clarifying the concept, David Haberman refers to Rup Goswami's Bhakti Samriddha Sindhu and argues that within the text, bhakti as bhav is characterized as the result of a relationship between divine object of love, the visher, and the worshipful vessel of love, the ashray. In any case, the necessary ingredient in the relationship is embodiment. And so finally, bhakti is love that establishes, nurtures, participates in, and celebrates an ultimate relationship with some embodied form of deity. Soon after its inception in uh, 1132 AD by Chodganga, the temple of Puri and the image of Jagannath turned into an embodied form of deity that was celebrated and nurtured. The construction of the Purushottam temple, or now, or now popularly called as Jagannath Temple, began in the final years of King Anantavarman Shodganga's reign. By the end of his successful military career, Shodganga had expanded his empire from the realms of north to the present-day Mukulingam, Andhra Pradesh, covering the Mahanadi River valley by 1012. Influenced by the Raja Raj Chol, he sought to build a majestic building, establishing Purushottam, a form of Vishnu who was already being worshipped at Puri. Though a Shaivite, he sought to construct a devotional center for Bhakti, Vaishnava Bhakti tradition in order to perhaps show his inclusive religious beliefs as well as to legitimize his conquered territories. Chodganga was highly successful in his endeavors as the Purushottam temple that he built in Puri soon turned into seat of Vaishnava tradition and a famous pilgrimage site in South Asia. One reason for this acclaim was the equality imbued in the very form of its presiding deity. Evolved around the 7th and 9th centuries, Purushottam, along with the two famous aspects of Vishnu Narasimha and Krishna, has gained prominence in devotional bhakti cults. The names are highly significant as various forms represents varied meanings. For instance, the term Vishnu represents the Bhagavad Vasudev aspect, Narsim the furious or violent aspect, whereas Purushottam refers to the amorous aspect of the same deity. Purushottam, according to William Reddy, also embodies Vishnu's cosmic significance. Also, like Shiv and Vishnu in various forms, Purushottam, argues Reddy, was said to gain to specific divine characteristic by union with a consort goddess who was the source of his power. The Sharda Tilak, a famous work on Jagannath by Lakshman Deshika, urged devotees, therefore, particularly to meditate on him as being tightly embraced by Lakshmi, who is sitting in his lap with a lotus in a hand, with the gaze of Purushottam riveted on her lovely face. Erotics thus become critical in forming relationship between a devotee and deity, and Madhurya form of bhakti became prominent in the worship of Jagannath. In his theory of Bhakti Ras, Rupa Goswami refers to five primary modes of or bhavas through which devotees can relate to God. That is Krishna in this case. Shant, contemplative adoration of the transcendent Lord. Dasya, humble servitude to the divine master. Saki, intimate relationship with the beloved friend. Vatsalya, as a parental affection or for the adorable child. And Madhurya, passionate love for the supreme lover. In the Bhakti of Purushottam, that is Jagannath, the Madhuri form of Bhakti began to be celebrated as the ultimate form of Bhakti devotion. Poet saints from Jayadev to Chaitanya celebrated a amorous form of the divine progenitor, giving prominence to the Sri Tattva in the form of Radha. They celebrated the loving aspect of Jagannath. With the rise of Vaishnava religious movement in Orissa and adjoining Bengal, Radha particularly became central to Jagannath devotion. While exploring the image of Radha in Hindu religious tradition, Barbara Miller pertinently goes on to ask, who is Radha? A cowherdess who seduces the divine child Krishna, or a worshipping woman abandoned by her divine adolescent lover, or maybe a goddess who triumphs over her consort? She concludes that images of Radha are varied and elusive throughout Indian literature, but they invariably reflect her unique relation to Krishna in his form as cosmic cowherd lover. Expanding further, Charlotte von Deville argues that emergence of Radha as divine consort was popularized by Jagannath Ikan Musapir. She claims that as Jagannath became ever more closely identified with Krishna Gopal, Radha came to be popularly viewed as the Haldini Sakti of Jagannath, if not his consort. Often, Often in Sanskrit poetry, as well as in the songs composed in vernacular languages, we find celebration of Radha Madhav love. In Jayadev's celebrated Geet Govind, Radha is established as both a devotee and an object of devotion. Though Radha in the poem, argues Miller, has no known identity apart from Krishna, her union with him basically alters the structure of Krishna devotion. In the dual form of Radha Madhav, the divine duo asserts to save the world during the Kali Yuga. Through her ardent love for Krishna, that is manifested in various songs, in poems, in various vernacular plays, and in various dramas such as Roop's Vidhag Madhav, Radha argues Dunamari Wolf renders Krishna accessible to Vaishnava Bhaktas. She is necessary not because the Lord is conceived as unapproachable, for it is as not Krishna majestic otherness, Ashwarya, that is paramount for his devotees, but rather his executive sweetness, that is Madhurya, which rather subtly suggests that Radha is necessary because love requires two, because sweetness needs another to taste it. Further explaining the divine union, Srivats Goswami clarifies that without Hayat Shakti, Radha, it would be impossible to claim fullness of love for Krishna, for she is love's potency. Radha, as the Haldini Sakti of Krishna, accompanies him in his manifestation of play in Braj by taking human form. She leads an individual soul to its final liberation, that is Jivan Mukti. When a seeker seeks to attain Jivan Mukti, he requires to move away from the deluding potencies and form close association with the essential potential. In accordance with the divine essence, being, consciousness, and bliss, potencies are of three kinds and are called existential, that is Sandhini, conscious, that is Sambit, and blissful, that is Haldini. Out of these potencies, the final one, Haldini, is given more prominence than the other two potencies. The Haldini Sakti, argues Srivas Goswami, is joy itself. It at once causes joy in others, as by nature it has fully conscious tasting of bliss, that is Ananda Chinamaya Ras. The potency of bliss is often experienced in two ways. First, it implies one who experiences, and the other emphasizes on the fact that it requires an object, that is ashray, to be experienced. To have full experience of bliss, the duality is required. It is therefore required on the part of the devotee to make themselves accessible to the object of devotion, and equally until the deity does not become accessible to the devotee, this form of evaluation is not possible. Sincere longing turns seeker finally into a beloved. In Madhurya Bhakti, therefore, a guru is required, but as Goswami clarifies, the gopis, the Krishna's beloved cowherd women, often functions as guru by exhibiting ras in their very persona. Radha, as the leader of gopis, embodies in herself a stream of ras that is capable of providing seeker with a stream to connect to the ultimate Lord. It is through her grace that the flow of ras is possible, connecting the human and the divine in a single strand, submerging them in a world of Leela. With the rise of Bhakti cult, Radha soon became the object of devotion in the Jagannath Bhakti tradition also. In the Sanctum Sanctorum of the famous temple, we can find inscriptions that delineate the love contest between Radha and Krishna and the finest form of Radha Madhav lore, mostly written on the majestic walls in Hindi or Brajbuli. These songs establish the prominence of Radha in Krishna Jagannath Bhakti. And I read, अनुपम अमर प्राण संजीवनी नहीं केहू कोन समतूल बस शरीर में निज निज था नहीं सब ही सुमित अंग किंतु प्राण बिनु सब ही व्यर्थ नहीं रहत कतहु कोनो रंग बस तुम प्रिय सबनी के सुख की एकमात्र आधार incomparable immortal bliss of life there is no one like you. Even when in the body there are beautiful parts, without life it is of no use, there is no pleasure in it. Only you, beloved, is the source of every individual's bliss. In this poem, termed as Sri Krishna's Udgar, love for Radha, the centrality of Radha in devotion is sanctified. Radha is the divine personification of love, becomes the Adhar of Bhakti Tantrism or occultism, letting the devotee or the sadhak to experience Paramanand, that is divine bliss. हे प्रियतमे राधिके तेरी महिमा अनुपम अकब नहीं नहीं कहीं भी पाता अंत युग युग से गाता मैं अविरति नहीं पाता अंत कहीं ना मिला प्रेम सुख ऐसा कहीं ना पूरी मन की आस एक तुझको पाया मैंने जिसने किया पूर्ण अभिलाप नित्य तुम निष्काम नित्य में मधुर अतृप्त मधुरतम काम तेरे दिव्य प्रेम का है जादू भरा परिणाम O beloved Radhika, your divine play is incomparable. I cannot perceive the end. From the time being, I have been singing about you. There is no end. Nowhere else I have found such bliss in love. Nowhere else I have sought such joy. I have only found you who can complete this game of love. Every day I recount you in every unfinished desire. You are the one I behold. It is the consequence of your divine love. Such magnificent representation of Radhika in Bhakti tradition led to the rise of the cult of Radha, and a large number of folk and literary writings began to appear to celebrate her presence. It is this celebration of Radha in Bhakti repository that finds prominence on the digital platform. Sorry. Many popular songs having large number of views on YouTube or other similar platforms are about Radha Krishna myth. For instance, a popular song called Gopa Dande Radha, originally composed in Uriya, is widely celebrated on the YouTube, and a well-known Hindi singer Sonu Nigam has given voice to this dramatic song that narrates the travesty of Radha and records her agonies in pursuing Krishna. गोपा दांडे राधा जे बिजाय छली अधीनी मोहके मौली रे. So the path on which Radha travels with the gopis is besmeared with the smell of Molly. The day also looks like night. It is all because of Krishna's presence. Radha of the popular Bhakti historiography is an intense, solitary, proud female who, according to Barbara Miller, often contemplates and reflects the mood of Krishna. She is a partner in Krishna's secret love and is adored for her passionate love for Krishna. Her remarkable intensity of love, argues Woolf, make her an object of perpetual wonder, and she is often referred to as mad. Such madness, according to Rup Goswami, is called divine madness, Dibyanumad. It is this intensity of love that is expressed through these songs. The divine love play is recorded as well as preserved in these platforms to give its audience, mostly urban, a peep into the past. Whenever Krishna calls Radha by playing his flute, Radha never thinks about any hurdles. Radha has no shame, and this is my translation of the same Gopadande Radha from Uriya. She goes on to meet Krishna even after so many abuses are hurled at her. She is not scared. It is only for the love of Krishna that she leaves even her own people. In one of her recent essays, Christian Novak argues if we think bhakti as a language, then it is a language of protest. Claiming bhakti as a form of empowerment that empowers non normative or counter normative forms declares bhakti as a weapon of the marginalized. It has been now widely argued by various historians that since long the image of women has remained tied to domestic duties, and marriage as an institution has determined her identity. Such song, popular on the digital platform, having deep penetration in the people, then disrupts the normative tradition, providing women with an alternative image, as David Kinsley has rightly analyzed the image of Radha and has commented that the cult of Radha provides an alternative to the marriage as an institution. Such songs on the multimedia platforms thus retains these alternative images of Indian womanhood, mesmerizing its audience with age-old episode of Radha Krishna love, ultimately forming a discursive space that widely circulates the Katha of Jagannath, keeping him alive in popular imagination. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot. So here I end my talk.
Thank you, Dr. Amar, for that very interesting kind of paper. I think on the way in which people have tried to sing different kinds of socio-political, sexual, physical protests into what look like religious songs to start with, and you began by referring to the divine and celebration of the divine in Puri,
And it's
and
not
then you
audible
ended
actually.
by you are I'm not audible. Am I audible, Siddharth?
It's audible to me. Shruti,
No,
can you
I think in
hear?
that case, I think can I audible? No.
Yes, you are.
Now what we do is we actually so you have all heard Dr. Amar, and so we are open. I think we open a paper for discussion. I tried to offer a very brief summary of the paper so that maybe you could raise the questions. Towards the in the beginning, she talked about divine ecstasy and modes of celebration of Jagannath, and the cult of Jagannath through songs. But then towards the end of a paper, I think and throughout the paper, she has tried to show how these songs also embody very interesting varieties of protest against institutions, social practices, including marriage. And I don't know, this may look like a very crude summary of a of a very beautiful paper, but then you have all heard. So I now invite questions, and as I
Yes,
said earlier,
yes, sir.
please make the question short so that she can respond to you, and then she should be given more time, and we'll have about 10 minutes of discussion. Siddharth, maybe you can begin with a question,
Okay.
if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
If you can hear me,
Dr.
I don't know if I'm audible, but
Yes, you are. You are.
Siddharth looks troubled.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir.
No,
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 I'm
you are.
yes,
You
sir.
are audible.
okay. So, it's for the others to ask questions.
Yeah.
Please ask questions.
Thanks, Shruti, if I may. Uh, but can you tell us a
Of
little
course.
more about the interface between these very uh, older songs and a modern platform like the digital as such? Uh, how do you see the interface? If you can elaborate a little more on this, these two different genres, the digital and the older Padavali, and
Yes.
how they kind of come together, whether there is a tension between these different forms, modes. I don't know if that makes sense, but please.
Yes, yes. There is a difference, of course, and that interface, to my mind, is provided by the music, because usually the kind of music that is accompanied with it, if you hear it in in kind of a rural background or with a group of people, if you listen to this folk song, so the music that are accompanied with it is of a different kind, and on these digital platform, because it is for a wider audience and it has a huge consumption, so So the producer tend to kind of modernize it a little bit by adding the new kind of musical, rhythmic music, which is more suitable to the urban people, because the instruments used, the folk instruments that we are talking about, the flute and other kind of instruments that, it depends wherever we go. For example, in Bihar, we have this kind of a different kind of it's called dugdugi kind of thing, and with these things the songs are played. But on the digital platform, it is the refined music, the modern music, and the instruments that are often used are a guitar or these kind of music, and the classical ones are not used, or the folk ones are not used. So this is the one big change that I see. And also the kind of representation, whether it is of cloth. So the cloth of Radha, or the dress that she wears is, it remains as it is, but it's still, the kind of presentation that she receives is of very different kind, because they have to make it more impactful, and they need a large audience, so her image also is transformed. So these are the two things, these are the two changes that we see, that her classical image is a little bit modernized, and she is represented as much as a modern lover, though the some of the classical elements are still retained. So these things are there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have other responses, questions, queries to Dr. Shruti Amar? We have
Okay,
time for
Shruti,
one more question.
just one more query.
So
Yeah.
maybe yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I would like to know if you have studied also the reception to these popular representations. What has it been like?
The reception of these songs, yes, it is widely popular, and it is often viewed like all the folk songs are often viewed like, I have seen people sitting on under the tree and reading Jagannath Dases like that, which is on available on YouTube. And but these songs also, they are widely popular, and often women, they do tend to listen to them, and kind of just like Rangabati, they tend to kind of enjoy it a lot, and try to dance also a bit on these songs. So I have seen them sitting together enjoying it, maybe in a group of only female company.
Okay, have you also come across some critiques of these?
But what about the critical reception? I think she had that in mind. Yeah, exactly. No, this is it. She's talking perhaps about the critical reception of this, the song and
Okay,
performance.
critical reception. Yeah.
Is it recorded in scholarship? What
Yes,
kind of
yes.
books, articles you have? Yes.
Yeah, no, I haven't gone. I have not seen up till now, particularly about the digital on the digital platform, that reception thing, or kind of any. I have not come across any book or any written
Yeah, maybe,
material book on it, particularly in English. Maybe in Uriya and other Bengali language, there may be some things available which I have not been able to touch. But in English or some popular Uriya, like review and all that is Uriya review, I haven't seen any kind of such publication.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we
that gives us actually, some food for thought.